You got it.
Okay. All right. This is the March 21st Planning Board meeting. On the agenda today, we have minutes from March 7th and site visit minutes from March 13th. On the quick administrative matter, we have a special permit for 104 Interlaken Road. And then we are continuing the public hearings for accessory dwelling units and for the residential inclusionary development bylaw. Has everybody, I actually want to recommend some changes to the March 7th minutes, but has everybody had a chance to look at those? Yeah, okay.
Fine.
So what I'd like to have them reflect is we had attendees who made comments, and what I'd like is to have just, their names down as having attended the meeting, and then just, without, not word for word, not verbatim, but just have the comments associated with those attendees.
Can I ask you to speak up, Kate? I have a
Sure.
blocked ear, so I'm having a hard time
No,
hearing.
I just don't want to be yelling, but yeah. Yeah, can you hear me all right now?
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, I know what you said, but if
Okay,
you just would
yeah.
speak up
Yeah,
for me to hear your voice for some
Let
reason.
me know if I'll try. So what I was saying was that, I'd just like to have Jennifer note some of the people who attended and spoke, in the audience, and have the comments associated with them. So I'd like to make a motion to have Jennifer work on them a little bit more and, without getting too detailed oriented, just capture some of those comments. Is that all right with everyone?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right, so we'll table those. Site visit minutes from March 13th. Has everyone had a chance to look at those? Any changes, comments, anything there?
I wasn't there, so.
No? Okay.
Move to accept.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great, okay. Okay, so the administrative thing I wanted to just mention for 14, thank you, Jennifer, 14 South Street is that that's a request for essentially an accessory dwelling unit. We don't use that term in our bylaws, but it is in the table of uses under accessory use. So I just wanted to make sure it was clear to everyone that when we hear that at the next planning board meeting, it will be under section 4.11.A.44 in our zoning bylaw table of uses, okay? So they're applying under that section, and they'll need to meet the requirements of that section. And, but they can't apply under the new bylaw that we're looking at because that won't have been. Right? Okay, so I just wanted to make sure that was clear. Let's see, that's that.
Do we have to have a site visit for that or not?
Yeah, and Jennifer will,
Okay.
yeah, I mean, if you want one, yeah, I mean, I do. So Jennifer will be in touch with us on that, okay? Is everyone good with that?
Yes.
Okay,
Where
All
is
right.
it? Where, do you know where it is?
14 South Street.
14.
So is it down
Yes.
by
Right. Change
just
that.
before the swampy area?
Jennifer's going to
Yeah,
send
okay.
before this one.
Yeah, okay, no, that's where I thought it was, okay.
Yeah. All right, so that's that.
One, okay.
It's a house and a barn.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I got it.
All right, so next up, we have a special permit application. David, do you want to, this is our first time with David helping us out on a request. So this is David Cameron from Fleetwood. I always start to say Fleetwood Mac from Fleetwood Environmental Associates. And I sent around a report that David generated. Just since this is his first time, I'll just mention David is the founder and principal of Fleetwood Environmental Solutions. He is a professional wetland scientist and a certified wildlife biologist. David is the former Department of Environmental Protection, Western Massachusetts Division Chief overseeing circuit riders in Western Massachusetts. So, all right, so I am going to make a motion that we open the hearing to the public hearing to consider the application for 104 Interlaken Road from Jacob and Katie Silverman. Do I have a second?
Jacob and Katie.
Second.
Okay,
You
all
have to
in,
read the notice.
we don't have to do that.
Oh,
apparently.
that's right, we don't have to do it
Yeah.
anymore.
Not anymore.
Yeah, Donna wants us to get away from doing that, and I'm not quite sure why, but we can ask her another time. I've made a motion to open the public hearing for 104, property located at 104 Interlaken Road. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great. The following procedures will be followed. Testimony will be limited to the issues directly related to the subject matter. One person will be permitted to speak at a time. All discussion through the chair. All parties will conduct themselves civilly. No fighting. All right, with that, this is Shannon Boomsna from White Engineering, and she is going to talk a little bit about, present this plan, and I think you'll start by sort of addressing thank you. Great.
Okay, so, good evening. This is, what I'm going to do first is present the plan that was originally submitted with the special permit. The plan that you received today were some changes made after the Conservation Commission site visit. Okay, we have not been heard by the Conservation Commission yet due to last week's snowstorm and some other administrative difficulties before that, but we did have a site visit. And that's what that plan is that was submitted to you. But I'm going to start with what was in your application. So as Kate said, this is 104 Interlaken Road. It's on the west side of Stockbridge. Many of you at the site visit. Those of you who are not, are you aware of this property?
Yes.
You know where it is? So we have an existing house, 4.92 acres. The driveway comes in, crosses an entrance stream that eventually comes down and enters into Stockbridge Bowl on the northerly property. And we have the lake. So the driveway comes down to the existing house, and the 150 Lake and Pond overlay district line is right here. Okay, we have other lines on here for buffer zones from this stream and everything, but I wanted to call that out for your attention. So what we are proposing here is a 208 square foot addition to the north side of the house. There's going to be interior renovations. So this is going to be a master bathroom. And then there's going to be stairs, stone stairs, just set into grade, coming down to the existing stone patio. And then a second story deck, similar to the two decks that are there right now. That's going to be on a full foundation. And then we have an outdoor kitchen area. It's going to be 54 square feet on the south side of the house. That's going to be a built-in grill and such with a roof. And then a stone patio, that's going to be set in sand. So that's going to be pervious with a, again, pervious walkway to the existing patios. On the front of the house, we're going to extend the entry deck with a roof along the front of the house. And then we have a one-car garage and a carport out here. So, you know, the garage of the house, which is going to be converted into the master bedroom. In doing so, we've looked at stormwater. We have roof runoff from the bathroom addition going into a stone trench at the drip line. Another one off the outdoor kitchen. The roof from the new patio extension will hit the driveway, which is a gravel driveway. And the garage and carport roof is going to lean towards the driveway to a trench drain, which will be directed to a rain garden out here in this flat area that we saw. Other things going on the property are some drainage improvements on the driveway, to a level spreader, some, that's not, and replacing the footbridge that's out there. The dock is going to be reduced in size to 25 feet in length, 200 square feet in size, with a 100 square foot swim float. Along the shoreline, we'd like to remove the invasive species that are there and plant this area again with native species in this area and in this area. We have erosion controls in place. None of the trees within this shoreline area are going to come down. The mature trees, they're going to stay. And you may have seen the goose stairs, those have been removed. So that is what we looked at the site visit. That's what we proposed in our application. I'm going to give you this. These are some, just making the calculations a little bit clearer for you. The first page represents,
Thank you.
the 11.11% that we note on the plans. And I would like to say that in doing the calculations today, I did find an error in that calculation from our draftsman. What he did was he used the property line instead of the high water line to calculate the square footage of the Lake and Pond Overlay District. So the second page has the corrected information. It doesn't change it all that much. Just add some square footage to the land in the LPOD, and it brings the total coverage for the new structure to 9.7.
And that's from 0.68 was what you had before, is that right, Shannon?
11.11.
Oh, I see.
8.68 is the existing house in his calculations. In mine, it was 7.57. So the table on the plan has not been updated to reflect this.
Okay.
We certainly will take care of that. And then the third page that you have is talking about the vegetative cover on the site. It shows what and there's a diagram.
I'm sorry, this is page 3?
Page 3 is the table, and page 4 shows the diagram of the areas reflecting on that table. So you can see that the existing and the proposed on the initial plan, so that's what I call the existing and proposed, are fairly similar, except for this area of the tree line being cut back to put the garage and carport in. That results in removing one maple tree. And then adding the rain garden. So that's the proposed list. We lost a little and we gained a little. So we kept it at 0.48% of vegetative cover. Revision A on this table shows what the changes were made and reflected in the LPOD from our site visit with the Conservation Commission. That included adding additional plantings out here behind the garage, vegetating the steeper slope off this flat area. We had shown plantings, we had talked about plantings down here on the flat area to extend that shoreline planting. The commission wanted to see that steeper slope planted. That's fine. And that was it, those two. There were other changes from that visit that are reflected on the plan that you received today. It's taking the driveway drainage from this side and turning it out into the woods to a level spreader that's outside of LPOD. The reason for that water was going right to the carport. And then the commission wanted to see additional plantings along the intermittent stream in our grass area. So that's what's reflected in revision A, which gives a 50% coverage. Vegetation. The rest of the area here and here is lawn. It has been lawn. And we're proposing for it to be lawn.
Shannon, did you receive David's report?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Are you going to his comments?
Yes.
Okay.
On the last page of what I just gave you is the planting list.
Yeah, I'm
That was,
sorry. I had that in my.
it was,
packet. I just.
that's okay. That's okay. So that's the planting list for the rain gardens, the slope, the shoreline area, and this area out here. So, I'm gonna just respond to your comments.
Whatever the board wants you to do.
When you're finished with whatever you were talking.
I'm finished because those were the only changes on this plan with those additional planting areas. Everything else has stayed.
So is the date on this plan? Okay.
So that's February 24th.
Okay, so is that that's the same date as the one that we received originally?
No, of the one that you received next.
Today? Okay. Okay.
Okay, so, David was talking about the stormwater, classifications of the soils and the calculations for the stormwater. Well, first
Shannon, why don't you start with on page 2 of David's report, he's got 6.5.8, plan, that section there with the,
yes, that's where I was at.
great, perfect, okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
The soil data that we used for this property was the perk test results of the property to the north. They were just done in the past few years. But that said, the stone at the drip line for the 2 additions and the rain garden all have the capacity to hold the static storm event without infiltration for various amounts from 2.4 to 7 inches without the infiltration. We do anticipate infiltration, but have accounted for that static storm event capacity prior to the infiltration.
Okay, so I think my comment was that there's a table in the LPOD provisions that says these are the rates, these are the design infiltration rates that shall be used based on these soil types.
Right.
And I think the rate you guys used was A, or it was used for
2.41.
class A, right? But it wasn't clear to me that that's the actual soil, that matches the actual soil type that's on site. So that was really the gist of the comment.
And we took it from the neighbor's perk test, was the soil classification.
Okay,
Okay.
so
But
does that correlate to what's actually on this property though?
It's close, there were similar types of, that was open fields, this is open lawn area. But we're not, in our calculations, we didn't consider infiltration.
Okay,
We are treating the storm events just in the void space and the holding capacity of the rain garden. Not accounting for infiltration in our
okay,
calculations.
so you're expecting that there's enough volumetric capacity in that rain garden to just store the water as surface water, and you're not, some of it's going to infiltrate, a lot of it's probably going to infiltrate, but it doesn't matter because you're saying it's going to be contained.
Right.
Okay.
Then we have the capacity. Now this is for the roof areas of the new structures. Like I said, this is 54 square feet here, 208 square feet here, and the 1,005 or something square foot garage and carport roof.
Is the house on a septic field?
Yes, it is. The
Okay.
septic is out here.
Okay.
The tank is in the driveway circle.
And that water pipe running along the north side,
That is one of the old pipes, could have been for the camp. We don't know. It's going to be removed, what's on this property. And they do have a well. The well is over here. So none of that's gonna change. There's not any additional bedrooms. No real additional water use, nothing like that. Okay, so we talked about the numbers briefly of the LPOD area being less than 15%. And so I did that spreadsheet clarifying the different areas, as recommended by David. Letter B is about the natural vegetation. Like I said, we're at 50% of vegetative cover being trees and shrubs. Not mowed areas. The rest of the property is mowed areas. I know this is a larger property than a lot that we've dealt with before, that had limited amount of room to do additional plantings, but we could plant 35 feet, except for like right here where it hits the patio. That would basically be the silt fence line. So we already have this planting area here. We have these here, so if we just kind of fill in the areas there over to the tree line, 35, this is wooded down here too, but along the shoreline, 35 feet, we are happy to do that with the native shrubs that are proposed along that area. And that added.
can you bring it to 75%? David is suggesting that's doable.
I can if the board would like that. The 35-foot strip would then total 8,000 square feet in that area, which is about a little over 4,000 more than what's there now. If you would like to see 75%, I mean, we could do that. I did speak to the property owners. We could do more plantings out here in the, around the rain garden area. There is a
What about
clear
to
spot
the
here,
south of the property? It seems like there's a lot of open,
That's what she's,
this lawn area here.
yeah.
Yeah. Also, if you noticed when you pulled in, there's a kind of a swath, it was like an old access road or something that goes down here that really is not going to serve any function for them, and we could plant that area.
Where is that, Shannon? Sorry.
That's like right along here, there's this tree and shrub area here, and then kind of straight down the driveway. It's almost like they would drive down here to put a boat in
I
or
didn't even notice that.
something.
I noticed a couple others farther outside of the LPOD, like there's one that accesses the septic field.
Yeah, there was one coming down here where they take the lawnmower to mow the septic field twice a year, and then there's another one coming through here.
Right. Was that underground utilities or something?
Yeah, the utility box is right there. This time of year, you can't see them. During the summer, you really can't see them when you have the full cover. But we could do something there, and we could expand this shrub area out into what's lawn now and get that 75% if you would like.
Be nice to see some large, type of trees like pin oak or something like that. I mean, I defer to David's input on that, but what do you think of that?
I think, I imagine it sounds like the applicant is being fairly cooperative. I imagine what they want to do is, this is a really nice property, it's a really nice structure, it's a nice lot, the way it's configured, so obviously they must have some affinity towards natural aesthetics, right?
Oh, yes.
I don't know if it was them or the previous property owners, because they haven't owned this house for very long,
Right.
a few years. There's been a I'll call it vista pruning.
Somewhat?
Vista pruning.
Yeah.
Stockbridge Bowl. I think the remnants of Beach Street, this is bigger one that just was lopped off at, maybe 8 feet above the ground. It's been that way for quite a while. But it's clear that there's been a desire, at least historically, to have a view of at least part of the bowl from a certain angle. And so I think the board could accomplish what the LPOD provisions require and allow the property owners to enjoy the view of the bowl at the same time, based on fairly strategic types of plantings and management. For instance, that area to the south, where the vista pruning's previously been done, it's more or less lawn, with the exception of there's some pretty large shrubs, there's a row of shrubs in there, they almost look like some kind of spirea or something, I'm not sure what they are.
Oh, along the shoreline?
Yeah.
Oh, those are all, burn bush.
Unanimous.
No, it
Yeah.
wasn't those, I saw those,
Yeah.
something else, they're good size, but, so your suggestion to expand and meet this 35, I think a 35-foot buffer along Stockbridge Bowl would be a major improvement upon existing conditions, and it's trying to meet the spirit of the LPOD provisions. And I think it could be done, if it's done thoughtfully and carefully, with the types of things that can be managed seasonally, like you could have a combination of the low-grown shrubs or, shrubs, things like perennial wildflowers, goldenrods, they get maybe 4 to 6 feet tall, and you can see above them, and you could still, decline to sort of that view of the bowl. But it would widen that buffer and provide all sorts of habitat for things like songbirds, small mammals, and provide water quality.
The real view is looking like right through here.
Yeah.
Down the lake. The Silvermans have already discussed this and gotten on board. The landscape architect who created the planting list. And when he comes in here to remove the invasives, there's not gonna be any chemicals used. He's gonna cut them off, pretty much damage the roots, do that consistently over a few years so that they die off on their own while encouraging the natives to move in. So he's worked with them for years. So he has a good sense of what needs to be done and what is allowed to be done.
All right, so you can do 75%, that's great. And David's suggestion of doing something with natives like goldenrod and so on the south part, was that what you're?
Again, I'm just thinking out loud based on what I saw on the site. It looked like an opportunity where you could plant and cultivate taller growing perennial wildflowers that could be cut once a year, say after October 15th, something like that, which would still allow the homeowners to enjoy their view of the bowl, but it would really expand upon the naturally vegetated buffer that's there right now and provide much more wildlife habitat, water quality value.
Okay.
Yeah.
Those are. We're kind of saying that 35 feet is almost more valuable than 75% of a
I think
vegetation.
my reason for saying that is just when I was there, it didn't look like there's not 35 feet now. Right. So,
No, there's not.
right.
So
There can be.
we're going to do 35 feet and 75% coverage. You're on board with that?
If that's what everyone would like, yes.
Okay, all right. So David, is there anything else from your list any outstanding?
We talked about soil infiltration rates, we talked about natural vegetation. We talked about percent coverage of structures needs to be less than or equal to 50%. Provided backup calculations that I just reviewed, and they pass the straight face test. We obviously I don't have AutoCAD, and I digitally check the numbers, but they look reasonable to me.
Okay,
And yeah, the 35-foot buffer, those are the major comments I had about work within the LPOD.
okay, great. All right, any questions from the board? Nancy?
So you talked about with the invasive plantings that are there now and they cut the roots back and let them die naturally within a few years. Will things be planted in the meantime or is it, oh, okay. I was just making sure that it's not going to just be,
Oh, no. As soon as they're cut down, new plantings are gonna go in. The work is supposed to begin on the exterior in August. So it is possible that they will be planted this fall, but definitely by spring.
oh, good. Thank you.
Sure.
Other questions?
This is not probably even in our purview. I would just like to mention that I'd love to see something done about the windows. That, I mean, I understand this is not part of this permit, but just, there's some technology that it's not quite as bad for the birds. I mean, there's so much windows there.
Autoplate.
I mean, I know that's not part of our LPOD, but man, if you could put a bug in their ear,
No, we
I would
can-
just say that's just hard.
We can ask for that for sure, especially in the addition, which is new. We
I can't hear
can,
you, Kate.
we can ask for that.
Well, it's not really part of our thing, right?
No, it's, it's within our, definitely
If
within
it's
our,
possible,
yeah.
somehow just shield all that glass.
I'm going to read
And the
you
light
the,
coming from the glass.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, Donna's here. Donna?
Hi, guys.
So Donna, question for you. There's a question about with the special permit that we're hearing within the LPOD. I feel that it's, Marie has asked the question about bird strike, loss of bird population from bird strike in relation to plate glass. And my feeling is it is within the purview of the LPOD bylaw and the planning board to, especially on the addition, to ask for that to be, materials that are more friendly to birds to be used. But do you want to, can you advise us on that?
Sure. So, the LPOD is aimed at protecting the land.
That's what I thought.
It's safe and healthful conditions of the lakefronts and shorelines, control water pollution. However, it does include preserving habitat, vegetative cover, and natural beauty. I think that would be stretching it to include the birds. I mean,
Okay.
the habitat of the birds, yes, but I don't think that would include the windows. But there's no reason why you can't put that in as a recommendation as opposed to something that's required.
Great, thank you, Donna. Okay, thanks for bringing that up, Marie.
Patrick.
You know, that's dear to my heart. Let me just make sure I've got everyone on the board and then I'll get to the, yeah.
I'll ask a question.
Patrick, I just want to make sure I got everybody on the board. Is everybody, Gary, Liz, Carl,
This house was originally designed by R.J. McDonald.
Yes.
And
Ronald
do you know
McDonald?
exactly, I mean, was that like 1970 or something?
I had a feeling someone was gonna ask,
Yeah.
and I know I wrote it down somewhere, but I don't remember. Definitely it was
It was
near the
like late
70s.
60s or 70s.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it used to be the color of your shirt.
Oh, wow.
Natural now too, though.
Okay, Patrick, do you want to come up, introduce yourself?
I just wanted to ask if the select board has a right to condition the windows on the permit we're hearing Thursday.
Donna?
If so, if you wanted to make a recommendation, yes.
Donna?
Honestly, I don't know off the top of my head, Patrick, but I can look into that and get back to you.
All right, thanks.
I mean, that could be something, we could add to the LPOD when we start working on it. Yeah,
Yeah, that was just so much.
I know. It's the first I pulled up, I was like, oh my goodness. So,
By looking at the architectural renderings, I don't think anything's being done to those windows. You know,
I know.
they're not replacing them.
Especially
You
once,
might mention it to them and who knows, you
I'll
know.
mention it, maybe
Yeah.
there's something that can be,
Just for the additions, it doesn't have.
Maybe there's a birder in the family.
maybe.
So, okay, let's see, where am I in this process? Okay, does anybody here, so has everybody had a chance to ask their questions? I'm good. Nancy?
I'm sorry, I just thought of something. So the lighting for the outside kitchen and the patio, is that,
It's downward facing lights,
okay?
no spotlights.
Thank you.
No, they want to keep it right to themselves.
Checking, thank you. Thank you, Kate.
Thank you. All right, so now is a chance when people in the audience can, do I have anybody here who wishes to speak in favor? Just please identify yourself, introduce yourself by stating your name and address. Anybody on Zoom who wishes to speak? Okay. Anyone who wishes to speak in opposition, same drill. State your name, please, and your address. Anyone in opposition? Going, gone. Okay. All right, so final call for questions. Good, all right. I make a motion that we close the evidentiary portion of the hearing and move to deliberation by the board. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, great. At this point, just the board, and that's it. We get a chance to deliberate, and let's deliberate. So, should I start, or does someone else want to start?
I'm fine with all the recommendations that came up during the discussion.
I agree. I'm saying, I mean, they seem to want to be able to, they want to follow the LPOD, it sounds like, and that they're willing to do it, so.
Yes.
Okay. Marie?
But I appreciate these overall square footage numbers. That's good to have.
yeah, it's a beautiful piece of property, and they look like they will take care of it well.
It's
Okay.
going to be an even bigger house.
Now,
But it's
how about,
going into the lake.
But it's, yeah,
we have a condition since we have a recommendation from David that, and Shannon seems to be amenable to that the coverage will be 75% with, on the south area with taller growing wildflowers and pollinators. And that there be a 35-foot buffer. You guys good with that? Okay, and we'll make a recommendation that they do something about the glass, but that's just a recommendation. All right, so any other input here? Okay, so I'm going to make a motion that we approve with a condition that 75% of the lot will be covered with vegetation. And as discussed, taller growing wildflowers, pollinators, and that there will be a 35-foot buffer. Do I have a second? Okay,
That was 75% of the lake
the LPOD.
along the LPOD, not the
Not
whole
the whole lot.
property.
the LPOD,
Right.
Oh, okay, it sounded like that was reading that it was the whole lot and 75.
LPOD.
Okay, sorry.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we have a motion. Did I get a second?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. Any discussion? No? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay.
Okay, would you like a revised plan? Will you write the conservation
Yes,
plan?
we would.
Yes, okay, we will, well, it'll be ready by next week.
Or just.
Okay. A lot of work, okay. Thank you all. Yes, I'll have that to you by Monday. Thank you. As long as we're done with the snowstorm.
Oh, no, don't say that.
Because I have to give one to the town clerk, okay?
Okay, that's it.
Thank you, Shannon.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shannon.
Thank you.
Let's see.
Thanks, David.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you, David. Yep.
It's so much easier.
Excuse me.
Okay. Patrick, do you want to come on up? Okay, so did you want me to switch the order?
Yeah, let's do
Okay.
it like that. Well,
All right, so we are going to,
probably not, actually.
Yeah.
give me a second. So you don't want to switch the order?
No.
Okay,
I mean, just to be, why make them, I don't think
Okay.
they care about this.
okay. All right, so I'm going to pass this around. Garrett, can you pass this around? So this is copies that came out this afternoon. Okay.
Oh, I think I got this too. Okay.
All right, so today, we are continuing the public hearing for accessory dwelling units. And Patrick White, the applicant, is here with us from the select board. And why don't we start with an update from where we left off? Do you want to provide an update on what's happening between then and now?
Yeah, I had a chance to talk to Wayne today. He's on vacation. He says hello to all of you. And we actually had a really nice chat about sort of the philosophy of the bylaw, and the challenges that will be. We talked about Little League a lot, actually, and how, and it sounds funny, but, about how we had 3 Little League teams when both of us were kids, and I think he was better than me, but, just sort of like, we all recognize that we're not going back to a situation where we have 40 kids in the 4th grade rather than 3, or, 90 firefighters rather than, a handful. But that, I pointed out to him that, that my goal, with this was to simply, help improve the affordability of homes by giving people a revenue stream. A lot of us in ADU is sort of like a small business. It provides people with an income to offset their mortgage, and where prices are so high here, that's kind of what the goal is. I thought it was really interesting in the Boston Globe today. There was an article on home prices in Boston, and with the interest rates having doubled, they've dropped 7.7%. Mortgages are still up about 80%, are still up significantly because of the higher rates. In Berkshire County, on the other hand, even though interest rates have doubled, prices have gone up 4.5% versus a 7.7% decline.
Patrick.
Yeah, and so these were kind of the challenges that we're trying to address by improving affordability for people to be able to live here.
Okay.
And that was the purpose.
I think that's great. I think everyone understands the purpose. Thank you. And I think we had discussed some details. And, I know that some of them have been incorporated, but there was sort of the sense that something still needed to be ironed out, like, I don't know, like, so we have this existing, Mary, can you hear me okay?
Sort of.
Sorry, just keep nagging.
Yeah, when you put your head down,
I'm
it's.
sorry.
I'm sorry.
So we have an existing bylaw. Patrick, we touched base on that briefly. And my feeling is that ideally, we combine those two, this with that, so that, I don't feel we need 2 different things on the books, so that it's clear there's one thing on the books. And so how do you feel, Patrick, about, I'm interested in having you work on this some more, sending it back to the select board, so that some of these things that need to be ironed out can be addressed in a more I don't know, I guess I'd say in a way that's maybe more conducive to figuring things out.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I feel fine with that. In fact, I think that if this is something you want the select board to work on, well, let me just first state that with this, we don't have to make this town meeting for this one. You know, we're going to have a fall town meeting because there's going to be a special town meeting around the school district merger. That'll probably be in September. So there's absolutely no rush on this bylaw. Having said that, you know, I think that, you know, Donna and I can touch base on what the issues are related to linearizing the bylaw that's existing, which is really focused, I believe, on accessory structures rather than the internal ADUs that this one does, and some other discrepancies. We can easily work on that and try to, you know, see what we can do around addressing that. I think the language on this is very close, and if you want to refer it back, I think it's great. I'd like to talk to Jamie and Chuck about whether or not they want to see this at the Maytown meeting or at a fall town meeting. And I think that's, you know, we got a lot of flexibility on this one. I think we can take the time to get it right.
Okay, so what would you like to do? Would you like to continue the public hearing or?
I think you should refer back to us.
Okay,
I would like
okay.
to hear from the board on what their general thoughts are.
I think it's going in the right direction. Well, I want to let the board speak first, but, you know, I think it's a good start, but I do think it needs more work.
What specifically does that mean?
Well, I just got this today, so I haven't, you know, really had a chance to go over it with a fine tooth comb, but, you know, one I just mentioned, I would like to see those two, this and the existing combined. I've just been at this too long. I know there's going to be confusion. So Donna, if you can answer the question, is that doable?
Now, I want to get clear what you're saying about the existing that you want to get combined. Do you mean the existing right under?
The table of use that I mentioned earlier, the 4 point, whatever it is.
4.1 through 4.4?
Yep.
Okay. So there's a lot that's in the accessory dwelling unit that is, of course, not in 4.1 to 4.4. So what we can certainly amend 4.1 through 4.4, but I need to know what the board might be, what direction the board might be thinking of going in, because of course, we've got the issue of the rental, we've got the issue of owner occupied that I know a number of people have talked about. We've got
Right, so this is something, this is why I think it would be good to send it back to the select board and let Patrick work on it some more, because there are these different things that still need to be ironed out.
Okay, and are you thinking that you would replace 4.1 through 4.4 with a single bylaw?
A single bylaw, yeah.
Okay, all right, yes, Patrick and I can work on that.
Mostly means Don will work on it, but yes.
All right, so, you know, that seems important to me. Any other thoughts or comments? Yes.
I think you need more definitions, like what does owner occupied really mean? Does the person that owns the house really have to be there every single day that there's a rental in his place? I think that was one of the things that the lake community was concerned about, that do they have to be there all the time their place is rented? What do we mean by owner occupied? Or does it mean they just have to own it and nobody else is in it? Only one person can be there, one unit can be occupied at a time. We said that. I sort of saw that in here. The other one that doesn't really have a good definition for is the bona fide temporary absence. I mean, what does that mean and who decides whether it's a reasonable, a teacher-approved absence, you know, or,
You felt for those terms.
or I thought we were going to take that out. I thought that was, I mean, I don't know if Donna, you probably weren't here at our meeting.
Well, I think, Donna,
I thought we said that just didn't make any sense.
I'm going to let Donna speak to that, but I think at a certain point, the purpose of this is really to address the needs of residential homeowners. So-
Yes, the homeowner has to own it.
Yeah.
And the thing I thought we talked about was that he doesn't have to necessarily be there every second, but only one of the units can be, he can rent out his unit. He can't rent out two units, his house and unit. But
At the same
But
time.
that was the concern of the Stockbridge Bowl group that said, we aren't necessarily here all the time, but it's our house and nobody else is going to be there. It's not like we're renting out crazy stuff. Can we rent our ADU and not live here 12 months was their concern, that we're discriminating against the fact that people around the bowl or the people that don't live here year round cannot have an ADU.
Can I address?
That was the problem.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I think it's important to recognize that that there's incredible pressures on full-time residential ownership in this town. Prices are up 5%, interest rates have doubled, okay? It's a very expensive town. Now, people like my dad, when he moved here and bought, aren't coming back. He was entry-level guy at GE. My mom worked as a chambermaid. They're not coming back. But that doesn't mean there aren't some families who maybe make 150 or 200 who are on the cusp of being able to own a home, all right? Half of this town is over 60 years old, and over the next 20 years that we should be planning for, many of the homes owned by the residents now, which is only about 40% of those homes, are going to become available. The purpose of this bylaw is not to be fair to everybody around the lake or anywhere else. The purpose of this bylaw is to make sure as those homes come up for sale, somebody local who will raise their family here, who's the next generation, has a reasonable chance to buy it. It's designed to create a little bit of a competitive advantage, in fact, because guess what? That ADU property, if it only can be actually maximized in terms of somebody rented out as a short-term rental or as a long-term rental.
No, we're not.
Okay, so,
We're not.
one moment.
It's not going to hurt anyone in town to make
So,
you
Yes, it will.
available.
okay, one at a time, please. I'd like to address this idea of discrimination because this is not discrimination. And I'm going to read something from the diagnostic report, which was something that was done under the zoning review committee by Joel Russell. Stockbridge did not choose to become a town that is unaffordable to local residents, nor did it choose to become a haven for part-time residents. Rather, its attractiveness due to its location, scenic beauty, and cultural assets resulted in demand-driven changes in its real estate market that have, in turn, changed the demographic and social complexion of the town. This has resulted in some long-term residents moving to nearby towns such as Lee and Great Barrington, where prices are more affordable. We all know people who have been in that situation. And I think that, correct me if I'm wrong, I think that what Patrick is trying to do, whether you on the board agree with it or not, what he's trying to do is address that need. So is that?
Yeah, I'm trying to give
I just don't see how it hurts the people in town that are going to rent to whoever they're going to rent for. If somebody on the bowl who doesn't live there all the time has an ADU that he rents out to a perfectly fine couple or whatever they are, it's not going to hurt or change anything in town.
Yeah, but when my house, I don't have any relatives who are going to move into my house.
They're not
When my
going to be the
house goes
same
for sale-
people that rent.
Okay, one at a time.
sorry.
One at a time.
When my house goes up for sale, all right, if I were to put an ADU in the garage and do a rental, that house is going to be worth more to a local than somebody who couldn't rent it unless they were a local, all right? I'm not concerned about the current people who live here. I mean, if some elderly folks want to put an an ADU, I think great. Most people who are 60 or 70 or 80 don't necessarily go into the landlord business, but if they want to, I'm up for it.
Talking landlord.
I'm talking about like a young family giving incentives and in fact an advantage to the next generation of families who want to live here. That's what this is intended to do. And if everything is equal, then A, one, all the prices are going to go up that much more. And B, there is no advantage to that young family that we're trying to get to maybe be able to establish themselves here.
So would you, I mean,
I
this
don't
is,
understand how it hurts them. To have,
Because the house on Church Street's worth more with an ADU and a house than it's worth with just a house. And it's only worth more to a local because the local can rent it out,
yeah, and that'll be the same,
and that's good.
and that'll be the same, and that won't change.
But it won't matter who buys it if you don't differentiate.
It won't matter who buys it if you don't what?
In other words, it doesn't meet the primary reason for the bylaw. If everybody can rent out that ADU, then
An ADU.
basically there's no advantage you're creating for the local resident.
Carl,
There's no harm.
okay.
So-
You guys, I kind of think you're not going to agree, so.
The 4.2C though, say primary, I mean, the phrase in here is at least one of the dwelling, occupied at least one of the dwelling units as their primary residence. Doesn't.
Primary residence in.
Where are you, Carl?
4.2.
Yeah.
C. This is where it starts getting into bona fide temporary absences, but primary residence, I mean, that seems to like, that says it all.
I'm seeing something different there.
You're still,
Oh, you're looking at the old one. Here, do you have the handouts? All the new versions right here.
you're discriminating against the people
Okay, so maybe.
who are paying tons of our
And
taxes.
people.
I printed out the one I got
Marie,
sent.
people with multiple homes choose their domicile.
Right.
They can choose to live here.
Right.
And get the same rights as, including voting, by the way, as the rest of us who actually just live here have. They choose where their domicile is. And that's why I don't really like that word discriminate. If someone wants to choose to live here, they can have all the benefits of voting at town meeting and not paying the personal property tax and having an ADU. I'm trying to create housing in a crisis situation. 61% of the houses in Lenox are being bought with cash, 45% in Great Barrington, 55% in Lee. That's what I'm trying, we
Okay.
gotta do something.
Okay, so you guys are not going to agree. So Nancy,
So I just want to clarify between the one that I printed out this morning and the one that we just have now. So I was confused because I thought originally ADUs, oh yeah, great. People can, like you say, build a little apartment, you know, for startup families or for a young couple or for a young man or woman who wants to come into town, not just to live in, not just to work in Stockbridge, but, you know, hopefully.
Live in
But we know, yeah, to live in Stockbridge, but not work. I'm sorry. Because we know how business is right now. But my concern was on the one that we got this morning. It said the unit must may be used as a short-term rental. And I thought that was not the whole purpose of this, but the new one that you sent, that we have now, that doesn't include that line, correct?
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
4.2I, HI, so the unit may be used as a short-term rental, provided at the time of the rental, the primary owner is owner occupied. I'm not happy with short-term rental because
We have lots of folks right now, like I know two families on Goodrich Street who actually afford their house because they can do a short-term rental. All right. And this is, and I get why some folks, I get it. It does seem like a two-tiered, like, you know, I get it. But the fact is that any revenue that a local can use to take, if they can afford a $400,000 mortgage and they've got to buy a $600,000 house, I don't want to limit them from doing short-term rentals.
But
I don't.
a short-term rental is not the same thing as a VRBO, right?
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
It's not the same thing as a long-term
So,
rental.
so a VRBO, somebody could come and just rent it for the weekend.
Yes.
As long as the primary homeowner was there.
yeah.
But I thought it was, to create a
housing.
home for these people, not to live there for 2 days and then they're gone, or a week.
This version doesn't say short term. The one that.
Okay, Patrick, I do.
That I've got is just.
But he's just saying, yes, it does mean that they can stay there for 2
It says
days.
maybe used as a rent,
It's up to you.
no short term.
Should we
I
stop?
just think we should, I think we should,
Those are our concerns.
I think you've heard the concerns here, Carl.
I have one other question.
Yeah.
It references twice the building commissioner. Who is the building commissioner?
Ned,
Ned,
Ned Baldwin.
Okay, so
Building
it says
inspector.
no, it
Building
says building inspector elsewhere, and it says building.
Okay.
commissioner
That's a typo.
in two
Okay.
places.
Okay, so
Yeah.
different topic, same.
will you get that, Patrick?
Yeah, Don's on.
Okay. Donna, did you hear that?
I did.
Okay,
Sorry, Donna.
No
Okay.
problem. That's why we do these things.
Different topic, on 4.2 on H, parking spaces. I thought we're going to change the should to shall be available. I thought they had to have a parking space for the owner occupant and the tenant. I thought we said that.
I think we talked about the parking being out.
That it should, because I think we have that in a bylaw, that everybody that's in a place has to have a parking space.
Well, so this does not supplant our existing bylaws, and yes, we do have.
Yeah, but shouldn't this say shall? Shouldn't this say shall instead of should?
I got that comment actually from Christine too.
You don't want to park in there.
No.
I don't really feel that strongly.
Yeah.
You got the input there? Okay. All right, so Marie, did you have anything?
No, that was what I was.
Okay.
There was a referral to, it was written as 900 square feet, but then there was 800 square feet in the,
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
fixing that. That was a.
I
we
made,
keep it at 9.
I made it 800. That was my input. I think it should be 800. I feel these are accessory dwelling
I
units.
think it should be 9.
And, that's my recommendation. I just, Concord, Massachusetts, I think has 750. And I just feel like 900 is not an accessory scale.
If you're trying to put a family in there, 900 is
Well, there's some wiggle room with the 10%, so you can bring it up to,
small.
you can already bring it up to close to 900 with that 10%, so, I don't know, I guess.
If you want to make a recommendation.
Just say 10%. I missed that. I have so many copies.
Yeah.
I guess I would, why don't we do a straw poll? Who is in favor of 800 square feet?
And remember, there's 10% flexibility, so 800 is really 880 and 900 is really 990.
Oh,
Yeah, so who's in favor? We're going to do a straw poll on 800 or 900. Who's in favor of 800? I am. 900? Okay,
Go back to that.
all right. So I think we're good. Anything else?
you had 3 hands up.
Oh, okay, all right, thank you. Okay, so let me just see where we are here. Okay, okay, so if anybody, this is the period where we'll take comments, and I'm going to ask people to be concise and to the point and stay on topic here. If anybody wishes to speak in favor, please identify yourself with your address for the record. And I will start with Joseph Newberg.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'm Joe Newberg. I have a home at 20 Mackinac Heights in Stockbridge. I have just a few comments. One is, the stated purposes in the draft bylaw, well, what I assume is the draft bylaw, because we haven't had posted
Yes, it
the
is.
current marked up copy, which I find sort of incredible for a hearing,
Yes,
but
it is
I agree.
posted.
Okay, we don't have it. I want to keep talking. Thank you. Um, I have seen a markup on March 19th because somebody circulated it, but which I appreciated. But in any case, the first two stated purposes of this are provide residential homeowners a means of retaining rental income, which goes to Patrick's point about short-term rentals. And the second is to add moderately priced rental units to the housing stock to meet the needs of smaller households and make housing units available to those of moderate income. Now, those are two very significant standalone purposes. Second homeowner stock in town addresses both of those. There are many second homeowners, as I have previously said in previous discussions on different real estate related topics in town. Many of the second homeowners are very stretched for many reasons about being able to stay here and occupy historical home ownership in Stockbridge, excluding them from any advantage that ADUs might provide is just mean. And it's not consistent with this stated purpose. And I agree totally. It's inappropriate, in my view, to exclude second homeowner properties from the benefits when there's no real detriment. And any benefits that are espoused about why it's only good for residents and that's good for everybody is conjecture. It's unsupported. It's not sensible. I object to it. You can do one thing. I wish you would do one thing. In the last markup I saw, you could almost fix the whole thing by defining owner occupied as used by owners and or owners' families, except during times unused. You could define family for all I care as, grandparents and grandchildren or ancestors and descendants and their spouses. But, you could do that. And I think almost every good objective of this proposal would be achieved.
Okay, thank you very much.
I have one more point, Madam Chairman, just one, and this is very concise because town council sort of clarified this in the questions that I asked previously that were answered. This is intended as drafted to exclude these benefits from second homeowners because they can't be here, as the point was made by one of the board members, all the time. Just in the nature of it, they're not. So if you don't define the home ownership, the owner occupied term, as I said, I have a question for council.
This is a period for.
Whether conferring benefits. I'm sorry. Yes, are you interrupting me? I'm sorry.
This is a comment period. Okay, so I'd like to keep things moving. I'm trying to run this meeting so that we keep moving in a pleasant way. And I'd like you to wrap things up.
This is my very last comment in one sentence. I would ask whether conferring benefits, as has been suggested, solely for residents is constitutional in Massachusetts.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you. Next, Patty Kaya.
Hi, I'm Patty Kaya, 8 Housatonic Road. And one of my points that I was going to make, Joe just made, is that two of the stated goals in the bylaw, number 2 and number 3, are to add moderately priced rental units to the market. So if we take this approach and we say we're in a housing crisis, then every unit added to the market adds value to the population that you're trying to serve and the need to diversify specifically Stockbridge's sort of lopsided housing stock. We have this weird mix of bigger high-end properties and tiny seasonal camps. And that's the reason that we don't have this kind of middle tier that exists in neighboring towns. Like you can find sort of what I call normal houses in Lee and West Stockbridge. So every unit that we cut off the possibility of adding to the housing stock undermines the stated goals of the bylaw. So you've taken one goal and you've said, we're going to do this one, even if it eradicates this other one. It seems illogical to me. And also, I talked to an micro housing expert who's been engaged by the town of Great Barrington to work on their micro housing initiative. She's worked on it in towns in California and towns in the Berkshires. And she told me that ADUs have very low uptake. So if you're eliminating 50% of the market to start from, you're eliminating the possibility of all those potential housing units that you say you want to build to diversify our housing stock. They have low uptake to start with, and they're expensive to build. There was a gentleman at the last meeting who pointed out, I believe he was a member of the Housing Trust, and he pointed out a really salient point. And that's that if they're expensive to build and they have low uptake, the people most likely to build them might be some of these part-time residents. So you're taking saying this goal, we have a crisis and we need every unit because we have to address this housing crisis. And I agree with that. So why would you start out of the gate by eliminating 50% of the opportunity to address that crisis?
Okay, thank you very much. Laura DeVester.
I had a few comments and maybe a question. One comment is that I kind of thought that the purpose was a little different. And I thought I think it should be added to the purpose or thought about is to enable, one of the problems is that we have so many elderly people. And when we did the survey in the MVP program, so many people, elderly, want to stay in their own home. And that one of the purposes, one of them, and in addition to diversifying housing, is to enable elderly, seniors, people who have lived here a long time to continue to remain in their homes so that, as opposed to going to another facility, whether it be having some supplemental income or having a place for a caregiver. So to me, it's not only diversifying the housing, but really enabling people to stay in their own homes as they age and as they want to live in Stockbridge. The other thing I'd like to say is that I'm an incrementalist. And so I think it is important to see whether or not, I guess I don't see why we couldn't start, for 2, 3, 5 years with 50% of the homes, those with full-time households being able to do the ADUs. And if there's no problem, or it looks like there is no issue, and it doesn't look like the housing stock is being skewed to second home ownership, then it could get changed to be for all homes. So there's no reason that you have to start with everything. I think the purpose is really to foster community, foster full-time home ownership, and make it affordable to have that full-time home ownership. And so we can try to do that in an incremental manner. Those are my recommendations.
Thank you, Laura. Peter Ungaro.
Hi, this is Peter Ungaro, 8 Houstonic Road as well. I had a few comments and I'll try to make it very brief. First of all, I'd like to thank the board for making a few comments related to needing to consider the language here more carefully and starting to question some of the issues more deeply and understand how this could impact the town. So I thank you for the consideration that you're giving this issue. I'd also like to at least thank Patrick for finally stating on record that the intention of the bylaw as written is to exclude part-time residents who own property in town, and also that based on my reading of the bylaw, the intention is that 4.2.c would eliminate any part-time owner from potentially being given a by right or an SPGA right to build an ADU. So I appreciate that being on the record. I'd also like to address another comment that's come up repeatedly about domiciles. There seems to be some, and I'm not a lawyer, I want to make it very clear, but there seems to be some thought that people can just magically change their domicile if they own property in Stockbridge and property elsewhere and they are a part-time homeowner. That is in fact not true. So I would appreciate it if people were a little more considerate of how domicile is actually determined, both in Massachusetts and other states where people reside. And lastly, while we're coming up with ideas for how, we could help tilt the playing field in favor of full-time residents in town, why don't we take this precedent of changing the zoning bylaw to have a condition on full-time ownership to just eliminate special permits for all part-time residents who have non-conforming homes? If their house got burned down.
Excuse me, you're out of order. This is a discussion of the accessory dwelling unit bylaw.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman. Excuse me, Mrs. Chairman, point of order.
You're out of order.
I am not out of order. Excuse me.
Excuse me, you are out of order, and I'm going to ask you to stop. This is a discussion of accessory dwelling units, and we need to stay on that topic. This is a legal proceeding. Town council is here. She can speak to this if I'm wrong.
So the precedent being set by the bylaw is not germane to the issue at hand?
We are discussing the proposal here on the table, which is for accessory dwelling units.
So, okay, on record, you're telling me that the precedent in the language of this bylaw is not germane to the conversation?
We are here to discuss a proposed accessory dwelling unit bylaw.
And that's what I'm discussing. I'm discussing the precedent that's being set by the language.
I'm going to move on. If you are finished, we are going to.
Well, I'm obviously not finished. Are you cutting me off for my comment?
I am. Okay, is there anyone else who wishes to speak from the audience? Okay.
Why can't he talk?
He can, but he was off topic, in my opinion, and this is a legal proceeding. I'm trying to run the meeting in a pleasant and civil way, but it's a period for comment on what is before us, which is the proposed accessory dwelling unit bylaw. And, we take comments from the public, but, we need to stay on point here. So, he's welcome to send an email to the board on the other topic, but I'm asking that people stay on point here. I'd like to be able to move things along, and, I don't think that's asking a whole lot. So, I think you've gotten some feedback, right? And it sounds like you're fine with the board. I mean, we discussed this.
For the board though.
Okay, yeah.
So, look at, the thing I want to avoid is short-term and month-to-month rentals by absentee owners.
I agree.
I don't understand how we necessarily avoid that with part-time residents, but however, I think that they make good points that if these were long-term rentals, not month-to-month and not short-term, but actually like a year or more, that there are a lot of second homeowners who could help with the housing stock.
Yes.
Now, but the thing is that I also don't want to limit locals from taking advantage of the short-term rental market and from taking advantage of month-to-months. Like Cone Light came and I sent this anecdote to you. They came and offered $13,000 a month. That could help somebody afford for their ADU the thing. I don't have any problem with a long-term rental, or if it's a family member who they want to have their kids come out and stay with them. I don't have any problem as long as they meet the rest of the conditions of the zoning bylaws of an ADU. What I don't want to see is the price inflation that goes with having a non-owner occupied property with a short-term or month-to-month rental, because I think it blows up our housing market. Now, I don't, it's not my position.
Okay, Patrick, hold on one second, please. Okay, so let's just stop right there. And I want to find out, do we agree with that? I sense that most members of the board do, but, let me know if you don't.
So you would have to put a value on how much someone
So Nancy,
pay for rent?
so if we can, what I want to understand now is if that idea, what Patrick has just articulated, if the board agrees with that, then he can take this bylaw and continue working on it. But I think it would be helpful for him to hear from us that,
I'm
yes,
supposed to clarify my question.
okay,
Yeah, I was just clarifying, asking for a clarification on what he's actually saying, where if someone on the bowl, or a part-time, not part-time homeowner, but, you know, homeowner on the bowl, if they rent out an apartment on the bowl, it's
year long.
For the year.
for the year, yeah, but
That would help the housing stock. You're absolutely
it
right.
would definitely help, but like, am I understanding you that if they charge like a whole lot of money because they're on the ball, rather than someone, an affordable place, an apartment in town, is that?
No,
I guess
basically
I'm
saying,
not,
like-
I'm confused.
I'm saying like a rental for July and August, it's month to month, it's not a short-term rental, but it's still hugely profitable. Like Cohen White, they knocked on my door and offered $13,000 a month. All right, when they came inside the kitchen, it was down to now $9,000, but you know, you get the point, it was a lot of money. I got a 70s kitchen still. And the fact is that what I want to avoid is this, you know, this outrageous cash flow. And it's not about the current homes that are owned by second homeowners. It's about the rest of the housing stock and what that does to the value of the homes that people who currently live here might someday sell. That's my concern. I got no problem with long-term, like yearly, you know, rental agreements for an ADU by someone who's not a resident. I have no problem with people's families coming and being in an ADU if they want their kids or their grandkids here. I have no problem with any of that. My concern is around the economic impact of having these giant revenue streams added to a house that then anybody could take advantage of that is currently owned by a local. Because I think.
And can you put that in the bylaw that way? I mean, is that?
so that's something that I think you need to work on.
Yeah, well, that's why I
Okay.
said we don't have to
Yeah.
finish this by town meeting. We can really try to flesh
I
it.
get it. Yes.
Right, yes,
So-
just wanted, yeah.
So this is good. Any other?
Yeah.
Good question, Nancy. Thank you. Any other, Liz, do you
Well,
have?
my comment to that was that, you know, when you have these ADUs that bring in more money and, you know, it's on a second home, when those second homes are sold, it's going to bring the value up there. It's also going to make it more expensive in town. Because the numbers that we do in town are based on general sales in the town. So that's part of, I think, the concern here. You know.
Because it's going to have to be some kind of differential.
Yes.
Because if you want to let the person in town do the short-term rental and the person who's not in town do the long-term rental, I'm okay with anything that creates a little bit of an advantage. And I know that you could think of that as discriminatory. I get it. I totally get it. I'm not trying to be discriminatory. I'm just trying to recognize that we're trying to encourage folks to kind of, you know, raise their kids here 10, 20 years from now, 5 years from now.
So would you describe it as progressive?
I just think it's a little bit of an edge. It's a little bit of a competitive edge.
Okay.
But do we set a term on, or definitions on, you know, what a short-term or reasonable rental is?
No, we
Have to
can't
be a
do
year
that.
longer.
Do that, yeah, the length we can do. We can't do the price.
We can't do a price, no.
No, not,
Okay.
but I mean,
That's based on
term, like
market
a
rate.
month or
Yeah.
a year.
That's just based on market rate. I mean.
But I think it should be a year longer
Yes,
for
yeah,
a second homeowner.
it needs a term.
So can we say this bylaw needs more work?
Oh.
I'd like,
Together.
so
Can we just like do?
what I think we should do is,
I would make
Make
a
a-
motion.
so what I think we should do is, you know, let's not close it yet, close the public hearing, and then the board can deliberate and recommend that we send it back to the select board, and then Patrick can continue working on it, and you know, with Chucky and Jamie and, you
Before
know.
you close the hearing, I wouldn't mind a reaction from Peter and Joe, or, you know, or one or two of them, Patty, on the last 5 minutes of discussion, and whether they see any reasonable compromise with those sorts of
Patrick?
directions. But it's up to you. Yeah, sorry.
I would, why don't we just, they could do that, they could write you.
Yeah.
They can write you.
Yeah, why don't you send emails to Patrick? So,
PCA.
we still have another bylaw to do, so, so I make a motion that we close the evidentiary portion of the public
Second.
hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. And I make a motion that we send the proposed accessory dwelling unit bylaw back to the select board for more review and work.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great. Okay, thank you, Patrick. Now, up
Thank you,
next.
Patrick, by the way. Thank you very much for everything.
Yeah, thank you.
Very good.
Oh, boy,
We're
Patrick.
not done yet.
No, luckily we're not.
All right, so up next, we are going to continue the public hearing for the, and we have new copies of this too. Gary, can you have
I
some?
can do that.
Oh, thank you. We're going to continue the public hearing for the residential inclusionary development bylaw. Okay, do you want to provide an update on that too?
So basically, thank you, Marie, and thank you, John and Steve and Michael Canales. We got together and we kind of hashed out some various things. And one of the things that Donna did was she found 4 sample residential inclusionary bylaws. So there's a couple of decision points in here that I wanted to get the board's opinion on. You know, the most important one to me is if you go to number, let me just find it. So if you go to the third page of the copy, it says options for C. I want to explain to you kind of what that was and frame it just a little bit. So to just recap, what this bylaw does is if there's a large development, people pay a little bit into either residential trust fund or they make some affordable units available on the property site. Now on number C, basically the original language was kind of based on what Lennox does, a cash payment equivalent to the value of structure. So you try to basically say what was their cost if they're building 20 units and you divide by 20 and that's the amount they're supposed to pay in. But there's a lot of debate and wiggle room. And Mary Beth Mitz, one of the selectmen in Lennox, told me this was the thing that was constantly argued about. And what Bolton, either Chelmsford or Bolton, I'm not sure which one, does on this one, which was, I thought, much better, was, and I only saw this yesterday, was they do a cash payment. They basically come up with a number that you know in a moment in time, 80% of AMI, and a cash payment of that is a number that everybody agrees to. So rather than say, well, if I'm building $1 million condo, my cost of the land and all the structures ended up being 600,000 a unit, I say, and the town says no, it was 800,000, and everybody debates it. AMI right now is 70-something thousand for a family of 4, no, 68,000. And so basically it would set, like, for example, the current rate, 5 times that for 5 units, 5 times that would be $400,000 per unit. So it actually is a little bit lower and it's predictable and there's no arguing what the number is. So I kind of like option for C, this thing on the third page, a little bit better than what Lennox did, especially given the fact that they've said that that's the hardest thing for them to come to an agreement on, and it sort of puts uncertainty into it creates a negotiation around how much they should pay, rather than saying, okay, it's going to be 5 times 68 is 350,000 per unit. So if they build 20 units, 20 to 29 units, they owe us for 2, and they pay us $700,000. That's it. Into the housing trust fund or build 2 units. And I know it sounds like a lot, Nancy, but these are units that will easily sell for a couple million each.
Yeah.
So 2029 is $58 million. It's not very much from a percentage basis on the tax. It's about 1.5%, So that was the biggest one on this one that I thought that I'd like to get feedback on. Donna, are there other open issues in terms of the options you gave us that you feel like the board should consider?
Well, I think the board needs to look carefully at the definition of maximum resale price and how that works.
Right.
One of the things, I'll just go through them and then we can go back to them in whatever order. One of the things that we added, Patrick, is that there's going to be a local preference for the affordable unit. which we did not have in the prior draft.
I'm sorry, a local preference?
Yes.
Other people in it.
Oh, that's great. That's good.
Let's see. There was another big change I wanted.
And it
to-
was the 60%, 80%. Did you do that?
Yeah, that's in option 2 in the definition of qualified purchaser.
All right, maybe you should walk them through that.
So, before we had this qualified purchaser is somebody who submits federal income tax returns and family's annual income level doesn't exceed the maximum level as established by DHCD.
What is the number?
In 1.2 definitions, the definition of qualified purchaser.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Oh,
So we could change that to just be a qualified purchaser means an individual or household earning
check the
no
other.
more than 80% of area median income
Or
is
it could
determined
be.
by HUD.
Next page. It could be this, is what she's saying. It could be that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know if you've got it printed in color. I tried to put the options in green, but
So it's option number 2?
yes, option number 2 option number 2 for qualified purchaser. And then to be considered a qualified purchaser, the individual or household must intend to occupy and thereafter must occupy the unit as their principal residence.
Oh, that looks better to me.
Oh, yeah.
What do the rest of you think?
Yep.
Yep, that's good. Patrick, what do you think?
I'm fine with it.
Okay.
I think those were the big ones. Other things got moved around.
What about 1.10? There's an option for A.
1.10?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, right. So we had talked, Patrick, when you and I were talking with Marie and Steve, we had talked about how they can gain their equity or gain some equity. And we had talked about, getting 120, limiting the resale price to 120% of the owner's purchase price. But if they sell it in less than 5 years, I just threw it, put in 110. There seemed to be some interest in having the person stay in the unit for some period of time. This option for A under 1.10 takes an entirely different approach by linking it back to this maximum resale price, which we can go up to the definitions and see there. So what it does is it starts with the initial sale price. This is how you determine the maximum resale price. You do the initial sale price divided by the area median income. That's going to give you a multiplier, a resale price multiplier. And then you multiply it by the AMI for a 4-person household at the time the affordable housing unit is offered for resale. But then you can add into that maximum resale price some small percentage of the initial sale price for marketing and broker's fees. And then you can also add in the original cost of capital improvements, because some people were concerned, well, what if they put on a new roof? They should be able to get something back for that. But this says that the capital improvements are going to be depreciated by 10% per year. Again, that 10% per year is arbitrary in a sense, but understanding that capital improvements do indeed depreciate over time. And then it puts a cap on the resale price in order to keep it affordable to a qualified purchaser that earns 80% of the AMI.
Right.
A household the size of the qualified purchaser's household. So that if they, sorry, go ahead.
Because of because the price of the value of the unit may go up, but also AMI may go up. The person will see an increase in the sale price. but it'll still be affordable in the future. So this is basically a way to, it's basically a formula to give someone an upside but keep it affordable.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah, this is great, much better.
It's good.
All right, I like the.
I like the option.
A.
Yep, I do too.
Okay. So this one, I would love if you guys would actually refer back and endorse it, but that's up to you, because I think this one is ready to go.
So wait, you want us to refer it back to
I would like you to take a vote on whether or not you're going to
endorse?
endorse.
Yes,
Okay,
okay.
all right.
I'm good with that.
Okay, so wait, let me track where I am. I need
And
to
you might
take,
want comment.
yeah, right, let me just, okay, so, is there we're taking comments now. Is there anyone, if there's anyone who wishes to speak in favor, please identify yourself by stating your name and address for the record. Okay, if anyone wishes to speak in opposition, same thing, identify yourself by stating your name and your address for the record. Okay, so it looks like, unless there are any more questions, last call, I'm going to close the evidentiary portion. We good to go? Yep,
Motion
okay.
to close the evidentiary portion.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so we are going to now deliberate as a board, and I think we're all set, and we are going to make a recommendation as a planning board to recommend this to town meeting.
Well, to the select board, right?
To the select board?
Yeah, for
Okay.
town meeting.
Okay, Gary, will you make the motion? I'm hungry.
These options have to get sorted out.
That's
Yeah.
right, right, thank you.
I would make a motion to refer, excuse me, 6.31 residential inclusionary development back to the select board for town meeting approval, noting that the board likes option 2 for what qualified purchaser means in number 3. And also, option A, or option 4A, no sale after the initial sale shall be valid unless the aggregate value of all the consideration and payments of every kind given or paid by the qualified purchaser is equal to or less than the maximum resale value price.
Second.
And there's one more I want you
Mark?
guys.
Option 3.
Just
That was the one on the way we value the payment from the.
Option for C, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Where did I miss that one? Didn't I do that
I
one?
think we agreed that we liked all the options.
Yeah.
Yes, we love all the options, yes.
So actually for options for C, those were 2 separate options.
Yeah.
It sounds like you like the first option
Yes.
better. Okay.
Wait, let me just
Whoa,
make
whoa,
sure. Option for C, when you say C, what number?
It's
That's under 1.5.
the cash payment equivalent to 5 times 80% of the AMI.
Right, just that, or the next paragraph was a separate option for C.
It's the. Oh, no, we want the second option for C.
Yeah.
We want to have
Okay.
the easily calculated, 5 times 80% of the AMI.
Okay, very good.
So,
I mean, if you don't mind.
wait, Patrick, do you mean
Yeah,
this
the one
one?
that has the weird color, yes. that
This one right here?
Yes.
Let me
Okay,
see.
That one is much easier to calculate, and that's in the
Right here.
sticking point with the developer.
So it's the second option.
the longer one.
Of the
Right.
option.
The shorter one.
So Gary,
Shorter one.
No, the longer.
No, it's the longer one.
The
Oh,
last,
you want the longer one?
Yeah.
Yeah, we want one that is like options for C, not C.
and it's a second.
Wait, you brought it up.
Patrick, whoa, okay, so is this and this 2 different things?
Yes.
No, these are all the same.
So it looks to me like there's one. So,
Oh, I'm sorry, is the last paragraph part of, that is not part of it? It's the shorter
Not
one.
as a condition.
It's a little confusing.
all right, so we are going to make a motion that you iron that part out.
No, that's not going to work for me, Kate. I
Yeah.
need to know which one
Okay.
the board supports. So
Okay.
let me read the two options. You can either go for the cash payment is going to be a cash payment equivalent to 5 times 80% of the AMI is determined by HUD. Income limits, which includes Stockbridge for every 10 new units of market rate units, period. That's it.
Okay,
Other option is the applicant for development subject to this bylaw may pay fees in lieu of the construction or provision of affordable units to the town. The fee shall be paid in increments prior to the issuance of a building permit for each and every unit, or otherwise at the sole discretion of the SBOS based on the sale price of an affordable unit as calculated each year when income levels, et cetera, et cetera. So those are two different options for the cash payment. Which do you prefer?
The first one, right?
See,
The first one you can understand.
Yes, the first one you can understand.
Thank you, Carl. I'm with you.
I was thinking that.
Did you,
That's what I said, the first one.
but Liz,
The two sentence one.
Does that, Patrick, you're immersed in that, in this, does this?
housing values and
I
stuff.
like the cash payment.
This
I like the
Okay.
first choice.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
That's,
Okay, we're agreed on that, the first choice.
Excellent.
Do you want a new motion?
But
Because there's a third choice, which is the one in the original language. We're not considering that.
Yeah, you're right. You could still go with the original language.
That's where I was confused. I thought that it was, that those were both, the second option, but never
I
mind.
thought you were in favor of the first option.
The first, there was an original C above the two options.
Yeah, so that's.
We're not going with that.
We're not
Right.
So we're going with
that.
the middle C.
yes.
Okay,
That which is,
someone's getting tired, I
I
can.
know.
All right, so Donna, do you need a new motion?
Yes, now I need a motion for what you guys are recommending to the selectmen to include in the warrant. Also, what your recommendation is going to be to town meeting. On the, you guys need to vote on what the recommendation is going to be to town meeting on this article.
Okay, so I make a motion that we refer this to the select board with option on page
two.
2, option 2 under 1.2. We're going with option 2 under 1.2.3, okay? And option on the next page, we would go with under 1.5, option C, a cash payment equivalent to 5 times 80%, et cetera. And then finally, under 1.10, we would go with option for A, no sale after the initial sale, et cetera. The motion is on the table. Do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, next I make a motion that we refer this to town meeting with a recommendation of the planning board to go forward with this bylaw after these changes have been incorporated. Do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Donna. Is this, are we all set, Donna?
You're all set.